So we got about 15 minutes here. We want to jump in on one story here this came down on our lap yesterday, right after the show. Of course, California is known for the glitz and the glamour of Hollywood, the film and television industry, and it's something that's going through a major shakeup right now. And we're seeing some of this shakeup potentially be halted by the court here, Chris, on Monday. A judge put the brakes on the Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery merger. The judge issued a temporary restraining order for 2 weeks, preventing the companies from closing the deal this month. Attorneys general from 12 states filed a lawsuit claiming the merger violates antitrust law. The states will now seek a preliminary injunction, which could freeze the merger for months. The judge has set a hearing for August 3rd to consider the injunction. Lawyers from Paramount say they will present evidence against the argument that the deal violates antitrust laws.
Yeah, so this is a big deal because this is putting it on hold. And if you're working for Warner Brothers Studios, if you are working for Paramount, you're probably wondering, obviously, what's the future hold, right? Mm-hmm. We have already heard Paramount was gearing up for huge changes at, for instance, CNN, which is a property of Warner Brothers. With this, we were already hearing that current CBS head of news, Barry Weiss, was going to be sort of anointed and appointed to the head of CNN as well, too. And that has been, inside of the industry, that has been seen as sort of a controversial decision. But all of this gets put on hold now. When this temporary restraining order is put in place, Paramount cannot, forecast anything changes or anything that they want. The deal hasn't even been completed yet. And so I think it will be interesting is how much, especially because a lot of this is going to have to deal with the patience of shareholders, how much of this is going to be sort of running out the clock to see if the deal is now sort of killed without this actually going to a trial? Or will both sides be strong in that they want to see this play out in court?
It's going to be really interesting to see because that term preliminary injunction can be a boogeyman for companies if you are trying to do this. Oftentimes you see situations in which a preliminary injunction lasts months, perhaps even a year or so at that point, and it puts certain companies, Paramount in this example, could be in a situation starting if they don't close the deal by September 30th, they could be facing having the obligation to pay Warner Brothers shareholders millions of dollars in exchange for that. So sometimes we see these deals collapse under the weight of the penalties that come as a result of preliminary injunctions. And yes, of course, that is before we even get to court here. So we could see this potentially unravel much quicker than we thought. And you mentioned some changes at CNN that are being put on hold because CNN, while a major asset here in this deal, is really just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. It is the CBS broadcast network that could be affected. It is TNT, MTV, BET, streaming services, Paramount Plus, HBO Max. The sheer magnitude of the properties, the channels that are that could be affected by this, it's massive. And we're talking about antitrust laws, and we're going to let the judge make that ruling. But just in terms of the magnitude of just how much of the entertainment atmosphere and the environment is dominated by just these two parties, it is insane.
It is. And I think that what's also very notable about this story is that normally it would be the Department of Justice that would be making a move like this. But the state's attorneys general, that's one that always mixes me up here.
Sometimes we got to get the AP book out.
Yeah. It is not normal for them to band together to file a joint suit like this. In fact, it was not too long ago, it was maybe a couple of months ago, where they spoke it was a Zoom press conference. Essentially what they did is they got together because they sort of formally wanted to talk about the fact that they feel like there are mergers and acquisitions that are going on under the Trump administration in which, and by the way, this is a bipartisan group of state attorneys general, where they are trying to get together to combat this because they feel like the Department of Justice, that the mergers and acquisition sector of those prosecutors are not doing a good enough job of looking at these deals because there are consequences to huge mergers like this happening. You obviously have to deal whether or not this is going to be a monopolistic type business move, and then what market impacts does that have, and also the jobs of folks that work for either one of these companies. Mm-hmm. Obviously you have to worry about whether or not this is going to displace hundreds, if not thousands of people in terms of where it is that they will work next, or if at all. So in defending this, the states argue the deal would create an entertainment giant controlling too much of the wide-release theatrical market, the anticipated blockbuster film submarket, and the basic cable bundle that you mentioned. But let's get to what Attorney General Rob Bonta here in California, he put out a statement and called the temporary restraining order critical. He said, with our lawsuit, quote, we're fighting for a free and fair market and a thriving film and television industry that serves creatives and audiences alike. We have a full tank of gas, the law on our side, and look forward to continuing to make our case.
Yeah, Attorney General Rob Bonta has been perhaps the point man in this lawsuit. It is, of course, 12 state attorneys generals here who are involved in this lawsuit. The timing is important because Paramount had said that they agreed not to close the transaction before July 22nd, but we mentioned that September 30th date. It's essentially a due date for them. You know, they're on the clock here to see when they can get a deal done and they can get this closed, because they do have the risk of severe penalties, monetary penalties, if that ends up becoming the case. Moving over down to Paramount's side of things. A spokesperson for the company has said that they're confident that they will be able to demonstrate that this is a merger that does not violate antitrust laws, that renders the argument from the state attorneys general null and void. Some of the reasons why in which they do that is, one of the reasons is they point to the success of smaller independent film studios, distributors, A24, Neon, Amazon's MGM, even though that one is, from Amazon. We're not talking about the streaming market. We're talking about the film production and distribution market. Clear differentiation that you got to make there as proof of healthy competition. They'll likely point to the success of certain movies such as Obsession, Backrooms. We've seen independent horror movies really take the stage here. That's been one of the top themes of film in 2026. So certainly something that they would probably want to point to as evidence that it is not us creating this company that is going to deter a company such as an A24 or a Neon from really making a splash in the market. They also say that it allows them to compete on the streaming side with major giants such as Netflix, Amazon. That's something that here in this ruling, the judge was a little skeptical on that argument, saying that just because it might help the market become more efficient in one sector doesn't necessarily negate or offset the damage it could potentially do in another sector. So that's something we're going to see the judge keep note of as we see this August 3rd hearing take place. The company also says that they've received regulatory clearance from the Justice Department, plus approvals in other countries such as Australia and China. Warner Brothers, on the other hand, has not commented so far.